been broadcasting on multiple channels. This is being recorded. It's going to be shared on YouTube, and it's going to be shared with for some training purposes. And the real importance that I want to talk about is the terms of service and the privacy policy, and kind of what people complain about, but there's real no legitimacy in their complaint because they've signed a contract which agrees that they've offered an agreement when they've downloaded an application or they're utilizing a service such as Google or Chrome or Yahoo or Internet Explorer. All of these tools that we use on the internet, we are doing with complicit agreements, such as when we use a Gmail account. We want the privilege of being able to utilize these free services, and we enter into an agreement, and that agreement is that we click a button that says, I agree to having had read the terms of service, and you click I agree. And also included in there is your privacy policy. Same thing happens whenever you buy a smartphone device. You're entering into a contract. You're signing a little LCD display when you check out to buy your smartphone. Now, very, very few people download all of the paperwork or the PDFs or the hyperlinks and read through those terms of service and the privacy agreement. So I wanted to bring some things to light. I've recently been involved with a lot of late evening chat-based conversations with people asking, what kind of information am I able to collect? So as Parent Dome, I've been educating repeatedly about the dangers, risks, threats, and permanence of our internet behavior, not for the benefit of adults. Adults should have enough evidence and being connected enough to know that the internet does pose some risks. Not that they will actually hit you, but you see behavior on the internet. You know that identity theft exists. You know that trolling and bullying exists. And my mission has been to speak to parents to make some decisions regarding their children's behavior online. And Periscope, I come to this platform because if you just go live, you see children making some poor decisions. And this is done with complete parental approval. All of those kids that are live streaming, the parents say, not my child. So this is done with complete acknowledgement and approval of the parents. So these chat conversations that I've been having have been related to some business things that I've been teaching on about how to take advantage of social media and tools in order to communicate with people to grow their business. Now, my Periscope audience knows that I had been telling them a long time the amount of information that we give up by clicking that I agree is very beneficial to the application builders, the software manufacturers, the technology people. All of this information we give for free. And we may not be able to imagine how it is being used, collected, and built. We can't imagine. I've talked about how software is built with the intention of creating addiction. I've spoken about how it is to produce chemical flow in our brain, about the serotonin production and production of cortisol to facilitate that addictive behavior, that constant connection to the internet and to the smartphone. So as I've been demonstrating some certain tools to people that have been involved in me in chat, they ask, what kind of information are you collecting from me? And I say, read your terms of service. If you're using Facebook, if you're using Twitter or Instagram or any social media application, you've signed an agreement and you've done it with complete approval in giving this information to these platforms. I have no obligation to tell you what I'm able to capture based upon you clicking I agree. And how I may use it, you have to trust that I'm going to use it for good. Now, I have said, I've been completely transparent and authentic with my audience that I recognize the impulse. I recognize that people cannot control themselves and they want to experience what they want to experience on the internet. So have at it. And I don't want to cause you harm. There are other people out there that want to cause you harm, but I want to help people and businesses. I've wanted to protect children, but really parents parents have got that. They've got that taken care of. They know everything that they need to know about the internet, and their children are not at risk online. So I've given up that hope. I've given up any hope that I can change parents' behavior to have, how you doing, T. Jackson? I can't be a catalyst to change parental behavior in having a change in relationship with their child specific to being connected online, whether it be on their smartphone, on a laptop or tablet, or on a video game. So I can't do that. So I've abandoned that hope. So what I'm doing is I'm focusing my energies based upon all of this knowledge about what is relinquished. When you don't pay for a product, you are the product. When you don't pay for Facebook, you are the product. When you don't pay for Periscope, you are the product. When you don't pay for Twitter, you are the product. And all of this information we give, we do it with a smile on our face. And that's fine. Now I'm able to gather this information because people are impulsive, and I'm able to help businesses with it. So in these chat sequences that I've been having with people, they're asking me, what information have you been able to gather? And I said, honestly, go read your terms of service. I'm under no obligation to tell you what you have given up when you've gone into Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, any social media, or Gmail. If you're communicating through me through Gmail, you've clicked those agreements. And the fact that I have access and I have tools to gain access to this information because I'm partnered with these organizations, that's not my fault. It's not my fault. And the fact that I have all of this data about you just by you clicking, I feel it would be beneficial for you to know, because as a marketer, all of this data that I have on people is quite alarming. And when I start telling people about this information that I know about you, no, I'm not going to bring it out publicly, but I know that if I have a message that I want to give to a certain targeted demographic, I can do it by location. I can do it through political affiliation. I could do it based upon your theological bent. I could do it based upon the sporting groups that you enjoy, those places, people that like to frequent certain vacation types, meaning they like to go on cruises or they like to go through Airbnb, or they're people that use other services. I can go with people that prefer to buy automobiles that are above $40,000. Nobody's read the terms of service. That's the beauty of social media. They rely upon people being so impulsive, and that's why I was over talking the hearing with Mark Zuckerberg. When Mark Zuckerberg was brought before the Congress and he was questioned by 50 people, I was on the side of Mark Zuckerberg. How dare the Congress try to say something about privacy when Mark Zuckerberg says, before you can get into my application, you have to click I agree. Now, the fact that you lied about clicking I agree, that's not Mark Zuckerberg's fault. That's not Mark Zuckerberg's fault. Because in the court of law, you've entered into a contract. And the fact that you say to the judge, well, nobody reads the terms of service, the judge is going to say, ignorance of the law is not a defense of the law. The fact that you chose not to read the terms of service doesn't mean you're immune from what happens from your ignorance and not reading the terms of service. You can't complain about it. You have no legal standing in a court of law to complain that I know the GPS coordinates that you live, I know your total combined family income, I know your political persuasion, I know who you donate to through campaign contributions. I know where you like to go on vacation. All of this information I know, and more, and more. There's so much data available by people just clicking that I agree. As an internet marketer, I'm like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you downloading Pokemon Go and having your camera record the inside of your house while you're trying to capture little critters on Pokemon Go. That's beautiful information, because now I know what kind of furniture you buy. I know what kind of electronics in your home. I know whether you have an electronic security system or not. I know what kind of HVAC system you have in your home. You're not able to think about that because you're busy running around with your phone capturing these little Pokemon, videotaping the inside of your home. Super, super. Go for it, because not only are people like me able to have that information, but there are other people that have access to that information, and they do other things with that data. So I just want to take another dovetail here, another dovetail. So I've often said that privacy does not exist when you do something in public. There is no expectation of privacy when you're in the public. Now, we used to have defined areas where we would have an expectation of privacy when we were out in public. So if we were to go camping on a campground, our tent or our camper, we were given the ability to have an expectation of privacy inside of our tent, inside of our camper. Well, we've given up that right. We've given up that expectation of privacy when we go camping. We used to have an expectation of privacy when we needed to go do our business in a public restroom. There's so much confusion about who can walk into what door, so you have no expectation of privacy in that bathroom anymore. When you step outside of your home and you're on a boardwalk or you're on a beach or you're in an amusement park, there is no expectation of privacy. Now, when you are involved in what you believe is a private conversation through a Twitter direct message, through a Facebook direct message, through a private group on Facebook, because they use the word private, please do not have a defined meaning of the word private, because a screen capture can happen inside of a private DM, in a private chat that can be shared elsewhere. So what you believe is private can easily go into the public domain. So here's another interesting thing. So there are businesses out there that have a corporate public presentation. They say, if you are working with us, here is the corporate line. You can only say these things, and they're very careful and crafty as to what they can say in the public domain. You buy their service, you get into a private group, and all of a sudden the conversation changes inside the private group. In the public presentation of a company, it's one set of language. In the private conversation of the company, they give more information. And it's creative. Now, people don't read their contracts. Nobody reads their contracts. Nobody reads their agreements. Nobody reads the privacy policy. They don't read it. So when you sign on to certain companies as an independent representative or a 1099 or whatever you sign up, and you don't read those terms of service, I want to tell you, caveat emptor, buyer beware, that you're at risk based upon what you say. There are individuals representing companies that are making fraudulent statements, and they believe because they're getting the information from corporate messaging, however, in a private domain, not in a public domain, in a private domain, and they're embellishing and using mental reservation and even speaking flat out fraud. Those people that are speaking the fraud are at risk, and those people that are repeating the fraud are at risk. So I've been sharing some information in the past couple of broadcasts relative to proximity marketing, and there is a tremendous amount of information, disinformation, and misinformation that's coming from the proximity marketing enterprises. And I'm not naming any names, but I'm saying in that space, there is some very misleading and even fraudulent and flat out false information, but it's leaking from a private group and it's going out into public. B&B in home. I'm not sure what you mean by B&B in a home. I'm talking about privacy. I'm saying whatever you do as far as a transaction online, you're at risk because nobody reads the terms of service and privacy policy. You will sign on to a service. Uber, it's the same thing. The amount of data that is collected through that Uber app is mind-blowing. Lyft, same thing. You've given people access to data that you have no clue as to unless you read the terms of service. If you read the terms of service and you understand how these applications are part of the big data matrix and how they're exchanging that data, one of the points that I made during the Zuckerberg hearing is I paused I paused the video for the hearings, and I said, there's one question that not one congressman was going to ask. That's fine, Watchman. There's one question that the congressman will not ask. And I'll say, I'm going to role play the question. Mr. Zuckerberg, does Facebook have any contracts, agreements, or transfer of information from Facebook or any of Facebook's owned or represented entities with information going back to any government organization, any government related entity, either in a contract or an agreement? So the question is, any data from Facebook being shared either under a contract or an agreement with any governmental organization? Bear with me 1 second. Now, nobody asked that question. Not one of our congressmen asked that question. And there's a reason they didn't ask that question, because the American public would totally freak out based upon the answer he would be obligated to give. Now, he would have to defer that answer until the 5 minutes expired, and hopefully somebody else would ask that question. But nobody asked that question, because all of this personally identifiable information in which, hey, CJA, all this personally identifiable information is going all over the place. No problems. It's going all over the place. So I wanted to offer a word of caution that please do not make any assumptions, positively, negatively, in ignorance. Don't complain to me as to how I'm able to gather all this information about you because you give it freely. Please don't complain to me about how I was able to find out what type of phone you're using, what the version is, what apps you have on it, where you live, what your MAC address is, what your IP address is. Don't complain to me about that. Go read your terms of service and then make a decision. Am I giving too much information away? Because I'm doing that by choice. I'm not suggesting you leave Facebook, and I'm not suggesting you leave Google. I'm not suggesting you leave Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest. But I'm saying don't blame Mark Zuckerberg. Don't blame Jack Dorsey of Twitter. You have a choice. You have a choice. And that choice is, I can continue to do this and complain about it afterwards. Again, my mission has always been about trying to protect kids. My mission has been about protecting those children, that all of this information is being built on these children, and our children are in an intellectual decline. An intellectual decline. As people are pointing out, the suicide rate from 2006 to 2017 has jumped up 3 times. 3 times. There's a reason for that. There is a reason behind that. We don't want to examine what has happened socially and culturally and impulsively because we don't want to look at our own responsibilities in contributing to this increase of the suicide rate. And we just say it's not going to be our child. It's going to be somebody you know. Based upon the percentages, it is going to hit your sphere that somebody you know, their child, or somebody in your community is going to be affected by this social and cultural decline based upon in this impulsivity, and they always want to blame someone else. Absolutely, that's clearly written in the terms of service. It's up to you to stay in touch with the terms of services to review the changes and updates. That is clearly in Verizon's terms of service, and it's absolute. They have no obligation to notify me. They defer that responsibility back to me, that I am responsible as a user of their service to stay up to date in being aware of their changes in the terms of service. That's in the contracts. It's right in the contracts. So they have no obligation to tell you. Now, Facebook is a little bit more proactive because there's a bigger impact in Facebook that they say that there's been a change in the algorithm, or they let the media know that there's been a change in the algorithm, and that affects a portion of their market. Absolutely. Oh, gosh darn. Yes. And it's not just every update. You have to be aware of what the change of our legislation is as well. But we are so consumed with our busy lives that this is not important. And we establish a level of trust. This is a word that came up repeatedly during the hearings with Zuckerberg, that they were implying that users of Facebook have lost trust in Facebook. And Mark is probably laughing to himself when he says, well, they may have lost trust in what I do with your data. Is it going to change their behavior? Are they going to leave my platform? And is it of any consequence if 22 million people leave my platform? It's not even a blip on his radar when you have 2.5 billion people on the platform. Losing 22 million is meaningless. So people are identifying on Periscope that I'm experiencing a fair amount of bots. And this is very true. That Facebook, on Periscope, it is linked to Twitter. Twitter is a known platform which does not have a proactive way to manage bots that come into and attach to people. So if you're watching me on Periscope, you will notice that I recognize bot behavior and I remove those bots from my broadcast. I block them from the broadcast. That's why I don't have as many followers as many other people do on Periscope, because I have a sterilized followership. I'm not here for internet celebrity or social media celebrity. I'm here for delivering content and quality. And I'm not here to have my numbers look big, because most of the people that have numbers that look big are because they don't sterilize their list. It's time consuming. It's frustrating that after each broadcast, I got to go in and delete 25, 30, 50 bots. It's annoying, but that's one of the ways I want to manage what's happening to me on social media. Oh gosh, this is so funny. So the social media applications have deferred responsibility of notifying you when there's a terms of service change, because they wrap it into their language and say you are responsible for keeping track to the changes of the agreements. That's why whenever you buy a software program, that you may have it for a period of time and that it could disappear, because they've already covered for that in their terms of service. So I will buy a piece of software and use it for 1, 2, 3 years, and then all of a sudden that software disappears. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? I paid for this. I should be able to use it. Well, it's written in their terms of service that this software is subject to expire. It may be acquired, or it may become antiquated because our development costs are such that we cannot afford to maintain the server capacity. They're very good at crafting that language. And I applaud them that I have to make a decision that I'm going to spend $50, $90, $100, $500, that I need to read the terms of service as to, is this investment going to have a long-term payoff for me? I have to see, am I protected before I make that purchase? It's my responsibility. It's not up to them to tell me. They say, click here. I agree. I don't click I agree. I've shared with people what my strategy is for how I handle clicking I agree. I will never, ever click an I agree button. This hand will not drive a mouse onto an I agree contract button. Every contract that is established with my device and the interaction of who is pressing that button, I protected myself that the software company has entered into an illegal contract. That's just my decision. That's my choice, and that's why the way I choose to manage how to protect myself from the overreach of data pulling out of myself. I believe in privacy. I believe in isolation of personally identifiable information, and that the information you have about me or Facebook has about me is not about me. It has nothing to do with me. That's just my strategy. So I wanted to do this video to help a broader audience, the YouTube audience, and those people that are consuming things online, and they're concerned about when they engage in certain applications as to what kind of data is collected. And my simple answer is, I don't need to tell you what data I have on you. You opted in. When you click an opt-in terms of service protected communication, what I gather, I don't need to tell you. I'll just say, go read your terms of service. Read your terms of service of Facebook. Read your terms of service of Twitter. Read it of Instagram. Read it of Pinterest. Wherever you are that you connect with me, there's data available to me. And I will use it to the benefit of my business and to the benefit of other businesses to help them grow and succeed and achieve net profit. But don't be surprised when you're talking to your spouse about the new washing machine that you need to get. They're gaslighting us. It's very difficult, Mystery School, to claim that we are being gaslit when we've done it willingly. We are saying gaslight us. So you can't complain about it. Yes, it is going to be uploaded to YouTube. So we can't really complain at how they do it because we've agreed to give them the ability for it to be done in that little agreement. And if we don't like the way they're doing it, the choice is ours, is to remove ourselves from that experience. Completely our choice. So you can't complain at somebody because you don't have the ability to negotiate that contract. One of the senators asked that question. You can't prove it. You can't prove, you don't have any power. When you sign that agreement, when you click that I agree, that's referred to as a standard form contract. And Facebook has to do it, and they've got permission to do it based upon the volume of people. So they don't modify the terms of their contract for an individual. So it's a standard form contract. Everybody is bound by those terms and conditions. And all of that that's happening inside those 172 pages is your responsibility. That's why I was defending Zuck. Zuck, you're right, man. Everybody click that. And people are saying that people have lost trust because of this privacy. And no. There's no expectation of privacy when you go publicly online. If you want privacy, you have to take the steps to be private. You have to take the secure steps to go private, because when you go public on somebody's free platform, you have given up privacy. Ex-FBI Director James Comey, speaking at an MIT graduation, he said, in the United States, a citizen does not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. There is no reasonable expectation to achieve privacy. Now, here's the other side of that equation. The other side of that equation is our government is opposed to those individuals that want to maintain their privacy. Because if you are one of those people that want to achieve privacy, they look at you as your intentions as a conspiracy theorist, and that the only reason you want privacy is because you want to cause harm. That's how they automatically label you. We are getting into Schadenfreude, Gestapo, thought speak leadership. And I am a person that enjoys my privacy, and I take the steps to achieve that privacy. And I don't care what the government says or does. It's not, I understand that bureaucratic process. I get it. I get it. So I choose to not put myself on the radar as much as my wife, well, that's not true. My wife disagrees with the visibility that I have and the things that I talk about, not the personal exposure, but the things that I talk about. But I know what the line is. It's difficult for me to share with her the line, but I know what the line is. On the other side, I can't blame Zuckerberg. I can't blame Jack Dorsey. I can't blame these applications and these tools or Google because they're taking advantage of our impulse. We can't blame them. Look in the mirror. We clicked I agree. We entered into a contract that we willingly wanted to experience what they provide, and we don't want to understand what we're giving up. No, they have permission. That's a lawsuit that's going to fall flat on its face, because I mean, if a class action lawsuit were to take place, it is the facial recognition is one thing, and it's a pretty spooky thing, but the metadata thing is even more spooky. Yeah, go to the Ninth Circuit Court. It'll just get thrown out. Well, it's not a matter of the terms of service of Facebook determine jurisdiction. You surrender jurisdiction to Facebook and the Ninth Circuit Court when you click I agree. They establish jurisdiction. You're not going to try them in your local court. You've surrendered jurisdiction. So a class action suit, it's not about moving it. It's about establishing jurisdiction. And they go to their terms of service and they say, no, all of these people in here, you're going to be heard by the Ninth Circuit Court, which we know the Ninth Circuit Court is completely enamored with leftist progressivism and the Silicon Valley rapacious kind of thinking. You know that. You just acquiesce. You have no chance. I was involved in a lawsuit that was going to be served at the Ninth Circuit Court, and I thought, my attorney and I were like, you can fight this. You can fight this. You can spend money to fight this, and you have a case that will be able to be heard by the Ninth Circuit Court. You will lose, and you will have to go through the appellate court process, and it's going to take you 15 years before your case is heard, and you'll have nothing to show for it. You will have been, and they're like, spend as much as you want to spend, but you're going to be defeated with penalties. So it's an unfortunate thing. It's an unfortunate thing. And unfortunately, majority of citizens don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. I have no clue what I'm talking about. They don't even know when they're executing a contract. They don't know when they put a video game disc into their Xbox that they've entered into a contract. They have no clue. They don't know when they put a Blu-ray disc into a Blu-ray player that they've entered into a contract. They don't know when they download an iTunes song that they've got a contract, another contract. They have no idea that the constant communication that we do on a daily basis, how many agreements that we're entering into. We have no concept as to the volumes of laws, rules, regulations, statutes that are over top of these. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So my point is, please don't complain about the platforms, about how I can gather information. That's meaningless. That's meaningless, Watchman. It's totally meaningless. So I'll tell you my own personal example. My own personal example. This has been scrubbed from the internet. Been absolutely scrubbed from the internet. Yes. I developed technology and I patented technology in the space of video game entertainment. This was back in 2000. So I developed technology, board level design, MaskWorks patenting, business process patenting, and signal processing technology. And it was right in the heart of the video gaming industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I exposed that every video game disc was an illegal contract. An illegal contract had been established with every single purchaser of a video game disc. When I was going through my defense strategy, as to how to protect myself, I had approached several lawyers in New York City, lawyers in LA, lawyers in Washington, D.C., and I was intimately connected to Electronic Frontier Foundation. And all of these lawyers agreed that there could not be a basis in which to sue me without risk exposing the creation of a class action suit where the class would be everyone that has purchased a video game disc, and a value would be established for damages for the purchasers of the video game console. So whether it was the Wii, the PS2, PS3, or any version of the Xbox. So however many of those devices you got one value in the class, and then your value went up based upon every video game disc that you owned. So at the time, it was a multi-billion-dollar class issue that I needed to, that was part of my exit strategy. If these big guys come after me and they try to shut down my technology, I have these lawyers in my back supporting me that's saying, if they do this, we've got a class action suit against them, and because there's an illegal contract that's formed. And that contract still exists today. That contract still exists today, and it's illegal. I fought as much as my financial resources could fight the corporations and the government on the formation of this illegal contract for the benefit of the citizens, to let them know that all of this is happening and you're giving up so much. You have no idea what you have given up. And what happened was they needed to shut me up and make me go away. So the way you do that is you do it, one, financially, you do it physically. You threaten my life. You stalk my family. You destroy my vehicles. You send me videos of how you're going to abduct my daughter, and you have this thuggery to intimidate me that I have to leave my own home and get security. And I'm the only person in my state that had to go to bankruptcy court under the protection of U.S. federal marshals, because I exposed something that was so bad that two sides of the equation wanted me to shut up. I'm like, I can't beat the Ninth Circuit Court. I can't beat corporate America, and I can't beat the U.S. government, so I got to go, whoa, I'm done. For the sake of my family, for the sake of my future. What'd the local police say about it? Local police, they only do something when I am in. So here's where I know about the law, Mystery School. Here's why I know about the law, is that I had active death threats coming to my home. The only instance in which the police would respond was when the people were at my door, that the threat was imminent, not that the threat could happen, that the threat was there. And the police said, you better be prepared to defend and protect yourself. And you said, amen, because if you're not going to do it and you have no legal obligation to do it, I learned that the police have no obligation to save my life, as does a fireman. If you're in a burning house, has no legal obligation to run into that burning house to save you. He does not need to commit suicide for your life. The duty to defend, the protect and serve that you see on the decals on the police is protect and serve the blue line, not the citizens. It's called the duty to defend. So The police have no obligation to go into a building and protect your student from a gunman. They have no obligation to do that. Now, you don't know that, but that's what the law says. That's what the Supreme Court has ruled repeatedly. So don't get upset if the policeman doesn't fire a shot at a criminal that is about to take your life. It's up to you to protect your life. There's no requirement for the police or firemen to protect your life. So I learned that. What do the police do? They do nothing. Well, that's not true. They respond. But do I count on them to protect myself, my family, and my dwelling? Heck no. Heck no. I would appreciate it if they did. But do I expect them to? No. No. And I have to be prepared for those occasions where people do come to my home that want to cause me harm. So anyway, this is when you complain about cyberbullying and cyber trolling and sextortion and people doxing you, you know what? Quit your whining. You don't know what's public. You don't know what's private. Get educated. Get educated. Read those contracts that you lied to every social media application that you've read them. Tell the truth. Either tell the truth and read them or shut your pie hole. Well, this is part of the problem because we have a complete dumbing down that words don't have meaning and things are all about based upon emotions and not about critical thinking and logic. And the things, when I talk about duty to defend, people are defenseless. I said, you can't argue the law against me. You try that with the judge. Try that with the judge. I don't care what you think the bumper sticker on a police car means. Wow, we got lots of bots. Crazy bots. All right, so I'm going to move this video into the YouTube channel because I think this is beneficial for another audience to experience. There's a lot of people that are involved in certain types of businesses that don't read the terms of service, don't read their privacy policy, don't read the agreements. And the corporation, what is the corporation's goal? It's to protect their interests, right? The terms of service of agreement is to protect Facebook, not you, not a user, but to protect Facebook. Twitter's terms of service are to protect Twitter. Periscope's terms of service are to protect Periscope. Any business, when you interact with them, their terms of service and privacy policy is to protect them and indemnify them. To protect them from how you may use their product or service and that they are not legally responsible for how you use or communicate their product or service. So there are lots of people out there that are doing things like this that haven't read the contract, that haven't read the agreement. The corporation is saying what it says publicly. It says something privately because nobody outside can see what's happening privately. I pointed this out to the Attorney General that this is a tactic which is used by certain types of businesses, and it's a strategy. And I'm exposing this strategy because the corporations are protected. And I said the Attorney General needs to buy this so he can get inside of these private groups and see the difference of communication that is happening privately and publicly. Because privately, the company is a different entity. They're two different entities. Publicly, they say one thing. Privately, they say something else. They're never held accountable for what they say in private because they're isolated from that. But if the Attorney General got inside there and became a consumer of some of these products and got into those private communications, holy smokes, there would be a record, a daily record of fraud. And it would be prosecuted under RICO. So I just kind of opened the door for businesses. I just want people to be aware. Don't get yourself caught up in perpetuating a lie, because if you get caught perpetuating a lie, you may have some unintended consequences. It all starts with you clicking I agree. That's correct. That is correct. There's another one. That is right. Oh, I got to jump off here. Take care, everybody.